Here we go, folks. Hour number 2 on this Rally Wednesday in studio. The state's leading atheist, Steve Ahlquist, uncle of you-know-who. And in this corner, representing the people, the defender of the faith, Representative Peter Palumbo. A full 1-hour debate on the cross begins right now.
Who's in charge?
The independent man.
John DePetro.
This is what change looks like.
On News Talk 630 WPRO and 99.7 FM.
And Mr. DePetro, who is in the eye of the storm.
I love Rhode Island.
You listening? Hello?
10:08 on this Wednesday. Folks, this is John DePetro. This afternoon, going to be looking for you 4:30 in Woonsocket. It's Rally Wednesday, and in the meantime, you can call up right now, 438-9776, or toll free 1-800-321-WPRO. You may want to pull up our website on your computer. You can watch us on the webcam, 630WPRO.com. In studio with us is the state's leading atheist. We've had him on in the past, and I appreciate him coming in today. It is Steve Ahlquist. Good morning, Steve Ahlquist.
Good morning, John.
Now, I was giving to Representative Peter Palumbo. Good morning, Representative Palumbo.
Good morning, John.
All right.
Good morning,
I was giving Representative Palumbo a white cross pin, and I was thrown. Now, you're requesting you'd like one as well?
Well, I figured if you're giving out, I'd love to have a souvenir.
A souvenir
of being on the show.
You're not going to throw it away, though.
I will not throw it away.
Or destroy it or step on it.
I will not destroy
All
it
right.
or step on it.
There's the white cross pin. Or burn
I will treat
it
it properly.
So, now, Representative Ahlquist, not yet. Have you ever thought, are you running for office in any way?
I'm not running for office.
No. Are you, my depiction of you as the state's leading atheist, are you comfortable with that?
I'm the president of the Humanists of Rhode Island.
Yes. Okay. And just so people make the connection, yes, it is the same family. Your brother is the father of Jessica Ahlquist.
Yes, I am. Yes,
who
he
is
is.
a student at Cranston West.
Yes.
So you were mentioning to me that you've spoken to your niece about this subject in Woonsocket.
Yes, she has really not formulated any opinions on this as of yet. She's still kind of weighing what the constitutional issues are, and she's trying to come up with a decision on her own as a teenager will do. You know, she wants to make sure that when she does come out with a position on this, that it's thought out and reasoned out.
Representative Palumbo, we have to be careful with the papers with the live microphone. Now, with the Cranston patch, your brother was quoted as saying that they have no connection with this.
That is true. Our family has no connection whatsoever with the Woonsocket Cross.
However, you in principle, I would think, agree with the Freedom from Religion Foundation based in Madison, Wisconsin.
I'm a strong proponent of the separation of church and state. That is true.
Okay. I want to start off, Nick, if we could play. We will get to some of the Bishop Tobin comments, but let's play. This is Lori Gaynor, who initially brought the complaint. You'll just hear her come up, Steve, in your headphones. This is, let's just play some of Lori Gaynor, Freedom of the Religion Foundation. Will give Steve a chance to respond.
We have lodged a complaint about a very egregious violation. It's a large, prominent Latin cross at the Woonsocket Fire Station, and there's also a lot of religious postings on the fire station website. And these are unconstitutional, and we have asked them to be removed.
Keep it playing, just so we can hear a little bit. I want to hear when she gets into the element of.
Did somebody bring these complaints to you? How did they come across?
Yes, there's a resident taxpayer who has to go by the fire station every day on the way to work, who was appalled and asked us to complain. And we work on behalf of complainants around the country who bring these violations to our attention.
All right, let's give Steve Ahlquist, the state's leading atheist, a chance to respond for what you heard initially from. That was Lori Gaynor with WPRO's Carolyn Cronin.
Right. And, okay, so breaking that down a little bit, there's a person in Woonsocket who's complaining, and that group in Wisconsin filed a complaint or wrote a letter to the mayor. And I don't see anything wrong with anything that happened there. Somebody made a complaint, they wrote a letter, and now the system of whatever it's going to be is going to settle this in some way.
Now, your personal opinion as a humanist, if you will, you were telling me off air you see some validity both ways.
I haven't. Well, see, I'm not a constitutional scholar at all. I'm not a lawyer or of any kind. I like the idea of separation of church and state, and I've heard good arguments from people on both sides of this issue, and some of them are humanists like myself. I've got two members of the Humanists of Rhode Island. One is a lawyer, one is studying to be a lawyer, and they are on opposite sides of this issue. And they've got all sorts of case law to debate back and forth. And honestly, looking at it that way, it could go either way. And I don't think I need to have a strong opinion on it because I can see it play out in the world. And I think that's a fine way to go. Optimally, I think it would be better if it weren't on public land because then there would not be a case at all. If they had built this and it was on private property already, the FFRF would not have been involved. We wouldn't have a radio show right now. There would be a non-issue.
Let's give Representative Peter Palumbo a chance to weigh in. Go ahead, Rep.
Thank you. I have a couple of issues I'd like to bring up, and one had to do with that discussion you had with Lori Gaynor. Is that her name?
Yes.
What does she represent? Is she a chapter of your separation from?
No, she's with the group called the Freedom from Religion Foundation, I'm not actually a part of that group. I mean, they were allies of a sense with my niece's case. They came in and
big time.
Yeah, and they came in and they wanted to send flowers. They were the people who did all that stuff. But I'm not a member of their organization. Okay. But I would say that it would be like if you were a member of the Catholic Church and the Evangelical Church wanted to make a case with you.
Sure,
they would be allies.
So you
wouldn't agree on every little thing with them. Absolutely not.
But do you agree? There was some things that she said that just absolutely were mind-boggling, and one of them that she stated was that she said we represent atheists, but it seems like it's an attack on Christianity more so than any other religion. She made a statement that if she were a Jew or if she were a Muslim or some religion other than Christianity, she would be extremely nervous because having that cross on a fire department's property, she's worried, she said, that they're not going to go in and save the people in the burning house. That, to me, is just an absolute outrage. When they don't ask names of people when they go into a burning house, but to make that statement, you can tell that she's trying to create dissension amongst all the religions against Christianity. To bring that statement, do you agree with that statement that we should be nervous that because a Christian and anyone other than a Christian should be nervous because that crosses on?
My brother and my father are both firefighters, and nothing would have stopped them from going to a burning building for anyone. And that's absolutely not
right.
true.
So you would disagree with her on that?
I know for a fact that there's no firefighter I've ever heard of who would slow down one bit or let his own prejudices get in the way of doing his job.
Right. So you agree that's kind of over the top.
I agree that she's wrong trying to characterize firemen that way for sure. Right. But I would also say that she's right on one sense that when you set up like special privileges for certain people, it could give other people a feel. I mean, just this morning, John had a caller who was talking about the crosses on the front lawn. I guess it was minority groups were complaining it might invoke images of like the KKK or something. And so there is some people could justifiably feel nervous about that, but at the same time, I don't see that as being a major. I think that's not a major issue as well. If people want to put a cross in their private property, that's 100% their right. And I would.
It's all how you see. I mean, a telephone pole. The Journal did a cartoon. A telephone pole is in the form of a cross. Now, it's all on how you're going to see that.
That is true.
But as far as what about her comment that someone has to go by that every day and is appalled at seeing the cross?
It's a funny thing with those kind of issues because there's certain words that. In order to make a legal case, they tend to use a lot, like I don't know, like offended,
egregious, appalled,
and that stuff. So she's couching it in legal terms. I mean, and as I made the point before, you can be offended on constitutional issues. I think it doesn't have to be offensive on a religious thing. You can say I'm offended because I feel that violates the Constitution. And let's face it, people can differ on this subject. Like I said, two lawyers, both very smart guys, both atheists or humanists.
But Steve, you don't have to be a lawyer
those are
to have an opinion on it. You talk about a constitutional scholar and a lawyer. Other people, you can have an opinion on whether or not a war monument should be taken down. Because otherwise, if we just left it to that, it's like no one else has an opinion on the matter, when obviously a lot of people do.
I don't know that anybody has actually said we want to take that war monument down. They want to have it moved to private land, but no one has said destroy it.
She wants it moved.
Well, I understand, but I mean, just to be clear, taking it down is a different thing from destroying it or ripping it down.
She wants it off that property.
I don't see it. She wants it off that property.
Right. She wants it off public property. She wants it off public property, and what I'm saying is different from saying we want it destroyed or removed.
Explain to someone listening, shaking their head, why she would want it off public property.
Well,
and maybe you agree with her on that, maybe you don't. But
she thinks
that.
It's a violation of the separation of church and state.
Which is what? So that person going by and seeing that makes them feel excluded,
makes them feel that
ostracized?
Right. That person obviously feels that the city of Woonsocket is favoring one religion over another.
Representative Palumbo?
To me, if you don't believe in anything, if you don't believe that there's a religion, that in any religion, how can it be offensive? Mm-hmm. I ran, just to go back a few years, before I was a state representative, I created an organization called Medjugorje Appeal, and it started out as a religious pilgrimage. I had gone over to Bosnia because I read a book on these 6 children who were seeing the Blessed Mother every day. It's a real life Fatima. I was very excited about this, and I wanted to go. My father came with me. Ended up creating a nonprofit relief agency over there, and we ended up bringing millions of dollars worth of supplies. It just blew up. Okay, now I believe that was divinely inspired, and that came from Jesus. But we can debate that one another day. Most of the people that helped me, I had the people that would come with me for religious reasons, and I had people that would come with me for humanitarian reasons. I had doctors that came with me. We never checked their backgrounds. They were Jewish, but there were a lot of atheists. And I have 2 very good friends of mine that are atheists. I have friends that are every walk of life you can, gay, straight, black, white, yellow, everything.
Representative, you served in the military.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I thought
no,
you
my
did.
brother did.
Oh, your brother did. Oh,
yeah.
That's right.
But I was over there during the war. It was a war-torn continent, so we were involved in this during the war, and we were taking care of people that were victims of the war. And it was funny because we didn't care what religion you were. We actually would have to go out and sneak in Serbian families with their children to help their children in Bosnia and get them back. But a lot of it came from atheists, my friends, and they would make light of it. They would say, okay, Palumbo, fine, I'll go with you, I'm going to help you do this, but no pamphlets. See, because it wasn't a big deal to them.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. Steve Ahlquist is in studio. Representative Peter Palumbo. Folks, it's John DePetro again. The rally this afternoon in Woonsocket. It's all ahead.
John DePetro.
We are being bullied. The majority now is being bullied by the minority, by the atheist and by the secularists. And we feel like we're on the defensive. We're being bullied, and that's not a good feeling to have. So I do think we need to be strong and always respectful, always peaceful, but strong in defending these basic American and religious values.
10:24 on this Wednesday. Good morning, folks. This is John DePetro, weekdays 9 a.m. to 12 noon right here on WPRO. The voice of Bishop Tobin. Studio with us, Representative Peter Palumbo, and also Steve Ahlquist, uncle of Jessica Ahlquist, the state's leading atheist. What is your reaction to Bishop Tobin? He is right. They are bullying a cash-strapped city.
Well, I heard that, and I immediately thought it was a little bit silly because can you imagine being in school and a football player, quarterback, raises his hand and says, "Teacher, that nerdy little kid is picking on the football team."
How is that analogous?
It is exactly analogous. The Catholic Church is huge. The little Humanists of Rhode Island or these other secularist groups, they're small.
But this organization in Wisconsin is picking on cash-strapped Woonsocket.
That's right, the skinny little strapped guy they're picking
They're the ones with the money.
Well, I also want to wonder, what community in America right now isn't cash-strapped?
Not as badly as Rhode Island. You'd be surprised. There are parts of the nation that are doing well. And notice, Steve, they don't go after people with big resources, and they don't go after the federal government. Mm-hmm. Now, in your niece's lawsuit against the city of Cranston, you guys talk about you'd like to remove one nation under God, correct?
I think ultimately that's going to happen.
You'd like to have that removed. You'd like to have on currency, in God we trust, taken off.
Well, sure, but those are really big, silly issues.
They are, but you have
really
to start a precedent somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And for this organization,
there's no way this is be a precedent. If you read the judge's decision in my niece's, if you read the judge's decision in my niece's case, he's quite clear that there's no way these things are going to lead to picking off these other things. That's
your
not
niece's case, how much did that cost the city of Cranston? The ACLU?
I'm not exactly sure, like $150,000,
$180,000.
All right,
and she's made over $100,000 herself.
No, she has not.
She has absolutely made over $100,000.
I know the total is about 62.
No. It's much higher than that.
I can guarantee you
I've
that
seen
you're
it
wrong.
posted. I've had seen the people talk about it on Twitter.
They made that wrong. See, what they did was they conflated. What happened was the AHA didn't give her any money. They managed the money for her. So they said the AHA gave her the $62,000, and then she got this other stuff from this other place, which was $40,000 and $10,000. And you add that all up, that's fine.
$62,000 here, $180,000 here. Representative Palumbo. After a while, we're talking real money.
Absolutely.
But also, remember, she did not do this for the money. There was no offer of money before. There was. I don't know. Give me another case.
I never even received a thank you from her, by the way.
Well, she'd love an apology if you want to give her that.
I don't need to apologize.
For the evil little thing comment. She would love to hear somebody say that.
Well, you guys exploited that because in the second breath, by the way, in the second breath, I clarified that you guys are the evil ones. Yourself, you guys are using this poor kid as a pawn. You're putting her, if in fact she is in a dangerous situation, which I disagree with, that she needed all that protection and whatnot. That was just more tax dollars wasted. But you guys are putting this child in harm's way. I would never in a million years
Do you have any
my
children?
son. I have two, and they're autistic, and I would never put them. I would never. I don't care what organization I have. To better that organization, I would not risk my child's well-being.
Would you let your kids swim in a swimming pool? Because that's way more dangerous, and children die every year doing things like that, or skiing.
I disagree. Totally.
So to say that we put her in a bad situation, that's silly. She chose to do this. She is a very forthright young lady, and she
still
makes
a
her own
child,
decisions.
and they're impressionable.
She makes her own decisions.
Well, let me tell you something. When my dad used to tell me something, my parents told me to do something, they're very impressionable. I would listen to my mother and father because those are the people that...
We're going to come right back, folks. 438-9776. The discussion will continue. Steve Ahlquist, Representative Peter Palumbo, Diane in Providence. Hold on, Joe in Pawtucket. It's John DePetro. More of your phone calls coming up.
John DePetro.
That was a very trivial debate, beyond trivial, they said, but again, those symbols mean something. And then, of course, the whole debate in Cranston over the prayer banner, which is a very nice, inclusive prayer that spoke to generations of students, and some found that offensive. And now, of course, the battle over the cross, which, of course, is devoted to war heroes, and the attack on the cross, because it's devoted to war heroes, makes it even more offensive. So that, and if you couple that with the attacks on religious freedom coming from the Obama administration, forcing the Catholic Church and other religious organizations to carry out activities and fund activities that are opposed to our religious freedom, our conscience, and with the HHA's mandate, there's a well-orchestrated but very serious attack on religious expression and religious freedom, and I think we should all be concerned about it. Any one of those episodes by themselves would be serious, but taken all together, it becomes a very grave threat, I think, to our way of life as Americans and our freedom of religious expression.
That's Bishop Tobin, folks, right here on WPRO at 1037. Again, the bishop's going to join us this afternoon at the rally. It's John DePetro on this Rally Wednesday. In studio with us, Steve Ahlquist, state's leading atheist, uncle of you-know-who, and also Representative Peter Palumbo of Cranston. Steve Ahlquist, chance to respond to Bishop Tobin. There was a lot in there.
It was a lot in there, and it was hard to digest, so I'll just pick one thing, if you don't mind. I don't think there's any ongoing war against Christianity or ongoing war against Catholicism in this country. And I think that...
you disagree, Representative Palumbo?
Totally disagree. Totally disagree. Just by the conversation you had with Lori Gaynor, it tells you right there. I mean, we explained it before. Can I just ask you a question? It's the constitutional right of separation of church and state. Is that what you're looking to gain from all this? Is that what you're trying to do?
I'm a strong supporter of the separation of church and state. That's what I would say.
Well, it's not even in the Constitution.
Although if you read...
Separation of church and state is not in the Constitution.
I would read Judge Laguerre's decision on my niece's case, and if you read that, and then also read the decision he made in response to the Gang of Seven that put in a last-minute appeal, and if you read those, you will see his clear constitutional reasoning behind it.
Fine,
but it's very clear that it is in the Constitution.
I think it's the biggest misconception in the country that's in the Constitution, and it's not. And I've looked through it, and I'm not a scholar on the Constitution.
Neither am I, but I read the decision, and he's very clear. I mean, honestly, it's really quick, and it's actually kind of fun to read because he's a really good writer, and it's really he explains it all out. He lays it out.
I just wanted your listeners to know that is not part of the Constitution. It's not an article in the Constitution.
What about what the bishop said about the Cranston situation, saying we had a perfect did he say non-secular or non-denominational prayer that was taken down. What is your reaction to that?
Well, again, if you read the decision, you'll see that it was not non-denominational by the judge's findings of fact. And again, it was the prayer was taken down. That was a different issue also because there were students involved. It was basically telling students how to pray and what to pray and and everything else.
In Cranston?
In Cranston, it was
come
a prayer.
on. No one was telling anyone to read that banner.
Well, perhaps not. No, perhaps someone was saying.
Representative Palumbo, you
show
went to
us
West.
somebody. Show us somebody that find one person
Your niece
that
was
said that
never
they were
forced to
forced
say
to
that.
No, I never said she was, but it wasn't. It wasn't. Well, why would it on the wall then?
Because it was a gift from somebody years ago who wanted to do it. When we back and we respected God and
we're arguing a case that's been settled, and that is, if there's a case that's settled, that is a settled case.
Yeah, it's still unsettled in a lot of people's minds.
Well,
and what about? Were you upset, Representative Palumbo? They were selling T-shirts to make money that said "evil little thing."
Well, yeah, I wasn't getting a commission on it. Number one, but number two, that was taken out of context because it was your show.
I was there.
Where they came, I came back and I told them, but it's not her; it's that she's being coerced.
She was not being coerced, and that is absolutely. Honestly, I can respect your opinion on things,
yes,
but I can't respect a person who is going to mischaracterize my family in that way. I think if you can think if there's anything decent in this person across the table from you, you will say that we are not the type of people to coerce our children to do things against their will.
I'm not judging you. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying that
judging is different. What you're saying is that we coerced my niece to do something, and that I would say 1 is ridiculous, 2 it's impossible, and 3 it's offensive.
It's impossible to
coerce my niece to do something she doesn't want to do. Absolutely.
No, it's not the something she doesn't do, but she's being taught that. I learned most of my what I know that has been instilled in me through my parents.
Do you have any of your own opinions?
So absolutely do.
Okay.
But,
so where did they come from?
But I also learned about Jesus and whatnot through my parents.
Okay.
So they taught me the good word. They took me in, and I followed what they. If I had a bad feeling in my gut, I would say, I'm not going to do this. I would discuss with them. But it's very difficult for a child not to take the same views as their parents, especially at that age. They're very impressionable. So when I say coerced, she's being given the direction that she's going through the parents. I'm saying that I would never, as a parent, put my child in a situation where there's a possibility that her safety could be at risk to further my cause.
Did it bring the community together in Cranston or cause an uproar?
You know something? It brought it together, but the people, the kids. Now I know a lot of the kids. I have nephews and nieces that go to that school, and they said it was just blown way out of proportion. Okay, that all the security and all that no one was threatening her. They don't know of anyone.
Okay, so was it dangerous or was no one threatening her? Because you said that you would never put your daughter in a dangerous situation. Wait, you said you would never put her in a dangerous situation, but now you're saying
that's correct.
There was no threatening situation.
That's what they said.
So there was no threatening situation.
How do you know that, though?
Well, wait a minute. You're telling me that it was overblown, that she didn't need police protection?
Absolutely was.
All right, so therefore she wasn't in danger.
But the potential was there.
Well, the potential is there for anything to do. If you drive your kids in a car, the potential is there for danger.
There's a big difference between driving a car, teaching a person how to drive a car.
You're telling me
and then put him in the middle of a political hostile situation.
You're telling me two different things. You're saying it wasn't dangerous, and then you're saying we put her in danger.
I'm not saying two different things. I'm saying the same thing. To further your cause, as your organization, I never knew about it until your niece.
And we didn't. And our cause had nothing to do with my niece.
It didn't.
The Humanists of Rhode Island had nothing to do with her case. Her case was her own case. The fact that we got supported her was because what she was doing was something we agreed with. But that was honestly, that was a coincidence.
This just popped into her head one day, and she said that prayer is bothering me on the wall, no one went up to her
about the Constitution. She thought that shouldn't be there.
It's not in the Constitution.
What she thought from her understanding of the Constitution was that prayer did not belong on the wall, and therefore she made the decision. She wanted to go for it. Her father supported her decision, just like a father
guys fanned the
would support. We did not fan any flames.
Absolutely.
In fact, I'll tell you this: we went to early meetings. I went with my niece just to see what was going on. Early meetings, there would be like 3 or 4 of us sitting there, and there would be 50 to 75 people literally ranting and literally praying at us and literally doing all this stuff. We didn't fan any flames. That could have been settled so easily and so quietly, and it never came up.
You certainly fanned it, because by the mere fact that you guys went on a media
campaign, the mere fact of existing,
a media campaign to have this thing taken down, have that prayer taken down, was putting her in an awkward situation.
Awkward, but not dangerous.
Who knows it's not dangerous?
Okay, so because
you can have some radical. I said there was it was blown out of proportion.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make sure let's stay focused there. I said that it was blown out of proportion, okay, and that the kids said that they didn't feel that they needed all that protection because it was blown out of proportion.
Okay.
Now that is not to say, when you get into these religious arguments, you could have someone, a zealot on the other side that comes. Right. Look at the abortion debates.
Sure.
You have people that blow up abortion clinics.
So the police protection that she got was not a waste of money because there would be a religious zealot out there who may possibly have targeted her. So when you said it was a waste, when you said police protection was a waste of money,
to this. You and your brother feel Representative Palumbo owes your niece an apology.
Oh, I don't know about my brother, but I certainly do. Yes. Because you called her an evil little thing and a porn star, and maybe you were making a joke, but you were trivializing and sexualizing. You were trivializing and sexualizing a 16-year-old girl.
Well, you were using it as a porn. And that's the way I was taking it. It was a porn. And it was not a sexual thing.
Your opinion of finding a fact which was wrong was that we were using it as a porn.
And you were.
What about your children? Are your children Catholics?
They're Catholics.
Okay,
yes.
and are you using them as a pawn to push some kind of Catholic agenda?
Well, one of them we can't really talk. I wish I could because
you wish you could coerce the kids.
I want to teach them about Catholicism. Mm-hmm. I want to teach them about that.
I teach my kids about God. I teach my kids about religion as well.
How can you do that? You don't believe in religion.
How do you teach your kids about things you don't believe in?
I don't.
Okay. I don't. Well, I'm. All right.
I don't understand that.
Well, so do they for instance, do they have any understanding about the other side? Would you teach your kids, let's say, to understand the forces of communism? Because you don't believe in communism, I would assume. But you would want them to understand the concept so they could recognize it in life.
And I tell them to pray for people that don't believe in God. Pray for them. So hopefully they'll see the light.
You do understand other points of view, and you do want your kids to have a well-rounded understanding of the world.
Correct.
And then from there, they could make their own decisions.
Correct, but I also tell them, yes, and I taught them about Catholicism and Jesus Christ and how he died for us and whatnot.
And when you see Jewish people, you don't say those people are terrible. You say those people have a different set of beliefs that are different from ours, but they're decent people.
Absolutely.
Right, and when you see an atheist, you say those people don't believe what I do.
And hopefully they'll see the light someday.
But they're decent people. But you also say that they're decent people. Okay, so as long as we're clear, they don't say all atheists are evil to your kids because you have friends, as you said earlier, talking about Medjugorje, are decent people.
Oh,
so
they're
you
great
don't go around.
They're great people.
Sure, so you don't go around.
But I don't say go take
their
things down. I would say that, you know what, if they want to put I don't know what you guys would use, a symbol, a rock or something, but as your God, but I would say, if they want a rock, right, whatever it is, a toad, I don't know what you guys would use, but I would say that's what they believe in, let them have it there, fine. Okay. But we'd like to put one up next to it. We'd like to put a cross of Jesus Christ next to it. Why can't we do that? Why can't you leave it up there and say, okay, we're going to leave the cross, especially with all the meaning behind it, instead of, because you know that by taking it off, you're going to upset the people that believe in that.
See, that's the thing.
Christian.
She knows this cross should stay in Woonsocket, Steve Ahlquist. And she,
cross
this Lori Gaynor,
and then put a little sign.
Well, for her to even say someone isn't offended by it.
After they get sued and everything else.
I think you and your niece could denounce the comments from Lori Gaynor and show that it does not apply in this situation.
Like I said, I'm not settled on the constitutionality of this issue. I don't have a strong opinion on this. I don't think necessarily this is the case to make. As I said before, I would rather this wasn't on public land, it was on private land, because then it wouldn't be a case. And I don't see, and also I'll tell you this, last night at the city council meeting it was also pointed out that base of that cross is crumbling. That thing is falling apart. There's a woman in Woonsocket who is working very, very hard to raise money to get all 10 memorials, veteran memorials restored, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, because of this case, all this attention is being brought to it. $1,000 checks are coming into the mayor's office.
No, it's great.
Right, and it is a good thing.
Let me just come back to something
fix all these things
Representative Palumbo said. Now, you said that Steve Ahlquist, and folks, again in studio, Representative Peter Palumbo and Steve Ahlquist, the state's leading atheist, you were saying that he would put up, a toad? What do you mean
I don't know what that...
Is that insulting?
Well, I didn't mean insulting. I mean, I don't know what they...
It just shows a lack of knowledge about that stuff.
Well, whatever you would use, whatever you would do to be the atheist thing, to put an atheist thing.
But it wouldn't be a toad.
It would not be. That's a little bit silly. I don't have.
Would it be an evil toad?
I agree you were kidding. I know that.
But Steve, what would you put up? Let's put something.
I wouldn't put a symbol.
Evil little toad.
I wouldn't put up a symbol of our beliefs and then say this and try to claim this speaks for all of America. What I would, no
one says that.
What's so insulting from this woman is, number one, she's in Madison, Wisconsin. Number two, in 1921, this was put up to honor this
Actually, that was put up in
resident.
1952.
No, it was rededicated in 1952.
In 1952 is when the monument went up. I found out last night at the city council meeting what they did was the plot of land was dedicated in 1912, but it was 1952 that they actually put up the monument and a cross. That was. I
have a picture of the dedication in 1921.
Actually, this is what the mayor said.
The head of the armed forces came from France.
I know, this is what the mayor said last night.
I'll show you a picture.
Oh, I know what you're
saying. But going back to it, it was not set up in the town square as a cross that everyone should come and pray.
I agree. That's
it was set up as a war memorial. And for someone to say it's an egregious violation of the separation of church and state.
And again, I think she's overly strident in the use of her words. I don't think that's a good place to go. I don't think she should be saying things like egregious. I don't think that, but at the same time, this is her right to say it. This is a right of a Woonsocket citizen to complain. It is her right to write a letter.
Don't you think after your niece's case, the Jessica Ahlquist, they see that the state is ripe? Because it really came down to a money issue. Mm-hmm. They can't fight this. We're going to bring it. And she even said, this isn't going to make it to court.
On the other
hand,
hand,
have to cave
if it's a money,
and just settle.
On the other hand, if it's a money issue, if you think they're trying to make money out of this, what will happen here is...
both sides could make money.
Both sides could make money, or both sides could avoid the money issue altogether, because all these collections coming in, they could fix up the monument, maybe move it to private land.
That's one way to do it.
Exactly.
Let me squeeze in, Nick, for the break. Calvin from East Providence wants to call in. Calvin, you're on WPRO, representing Peter Palumbo and Steve Ahlquist. Go ahead, Calvin.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Calvin.
I just want to say my own personal belief is I think the War Memorial should stay as it is. I don't think it has anything to do with separation of church and state. It's a memorial. It's been there a number of years. It's not harming anybody. To me, it's a little different from the prayer banner. I'm not the world's most religious person, but that's what I feel. I also want to say, and I have to go, so I'm going to make this brief. I've known Stephen Ahlquist for a number of years, and he is a decent and honorable man. He's never forced his beliefs on anybody, and if you want to talk to him about it, he'll debate you, and he'll make points and counterpoints, but I think some people are giving him a bad rap. I just wanted to give him his support.
All right, Calvin, thank you for the call.
Thank you, Calvin.
Nick, let me just squeeze in Diane from Providence, just because she's been holding for so long on WPRO. Go ahead, Diane.
Hi, John.
Hi, Diane.
Hi. Roger Williams, our awesome founding father, he's everywhere in Rhode Island, overlooking us from the east side. He's down in the State House, in the city parks, and he's in one of our national parks, too. And he is holding a book very close to his heart, facing outward. And I was wondering why these people don't go after, the national government right away. He's in one of our state parks.
Steve?
He's up there.
Why don't you go after the national government?
I'm not sure what the book he's
You're
holding.
You're right, Diane. Diane, I think it's
the Bible. So I would assume that that's a Bible.
It is. You know what, Diane? It comes down to resources. They know it's an easier fight to go after Cash-Trap Woonsocket than go after the federal government.
There's no way anybody's going after Roger Williams. Okay, I'm sorry. I agree. He's a great man. In fact, I think when you talk about founding fathers, he's actually a founding father. I mean, he actually founded a state, and he is very important.
And when he came here, he gave the land to the people who followed him, and that's why we have
the first park.
Plantations.
That's right, Representative Palumbo. He started Roger Williams Park.
Yeah. I will never argue.
Well, I just wanted to make the point.
We named the park after. I got to take a break. We're going to come right back. Representative Peter Palumbo and Steve Ahlquist with John DePetro. We'll come back with more.
John DePetro on News Talk 630 WPRO and 99.7 FM.
10:57 on this Wednesday. Good morning, folks. This is John DePetro. Weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon, right here on WPRO. I want to thank our guests in studio, Steve Ahlquist, the state's leading atheist, also the uncle to Jessica Ahlquist, and also Representative Peter Palumbo. And I want to throw the table to you, Representative
John,
Palumbo.
I'd like to apologize to that young lady. I was a little out of line when I said that she was an evil little thing. But I did in the next sentence. It was taken out of context as well. But, of course, I don't believe she's an evil little thing. And she's a nice kid. So I offer it, no problem. And I apologize. I got heated in that situation. I shouldn't have said that. So I apologize.
Thank you.
Right?
Now, in going forward, how can people learn more about your organization?
The Humanists of Rhode Island, you can find them. Just Google them. We're on the internet. We do charity every month. We do Habitat for Humanity every month, and we build houses for low-income people. We do highway cleanups. We do a lot of good work. That's the Humanists of Rhode Island.
You won in Cranston, but I am predicting we are going to win this Woonsocket battle, and that memorial will not be moved.
If I had to bet, I would think you're possibly correct.
So you may have won the first battle, but we're not going away, Steve Ahlquist.
We're going to win
this one. I do not think religion's going away
at every turn.
I do not want religion to go away.
Do you understand? that
you're
we
going to
are
fight.
going to stand up, you and your friend Lori Gaynor. You
My
guys
friend-
may have got the better of us, but we are not going anywhere.
We need to win. We need a big showing tonight. At your
We
rally.
do. Yep.
Big
Let
showing.
me squeeze in Lorraine Corey from Woonsocket on line 2 wants to correct something she heard. Go ahead, Lorraine.
Yes, if I may ask Mr. Ahlquist, I was at the meeting at City Hall last night, and I believe I'm the person that you're referring to as raising money for the monument.
Oh, I thought that was a really great thing, and I was really happy to see you there. That was great.
Could you please tell me what other 9 monuments I'm raising money for?
Oh, I thought maybe I misspoke. I thought I heard that there were 10 other memorials in the city that also needed some upkeep.
They may be, but
okay.
I can tell you I am fighting for this monument.
I did not mean to I did not mean to speak.
He misspoke.
I heard that there were 9 other memorials in Woonsocket that were all built, and
Lorraine, come find me at the stage. I want to bring you up to the crowd, okay?
I will find you.
All right.
Thank you.
Folks, another
Thank
big
you.
hour to go. Thank you to Steve Ahlquist.
Thank you.
Representative Peter Palumbo.
Thank
Keep it
you
going,
very
folks.
much,
John
Tim.
DePetro,
Thank
stay
you.
with us. Another big hour to go.